Hey guys, it's Saga, and in this video, let's find out how good the cameras on this iPhone 13 Pro really are. According to Apple, these are the best and most advanced cameras that they have put on any iPhones yet. Whenever a company makes claims like these, it is only fair that we put these claims to test. So in this video, we will try and find out if the cameras on this iPhone 13 Pro are really as good as Apple claims them to be. I have well over 135 image and video samples in various weather and lighting conditions that we are going to check out. I have posted the camera review of the iPhone 13, so we already know that cameras on this year's iPhones are really good. Last year, only the iPhone 12 Pro Max got the most advanced cameras, and the regular 12 Pro was left hanging with same two cameras as the iPhone 12 and the iPhone 12 mini. I did not want to get the Max, but there was a huge gap between 12 Pros and 12 Pro Max's cameras, and I wanted to test out the best cameras that iPhone offered. So I was kind of forced to buy the bigger, pricier iPhone 12 Pro Max. This year, Apple rectified their mistake and both the iPhone 13 Pro and 13 Pro Max get the exact same cameras. Before we get to the image and video samples, it is very important to know about the cameras which actually took these images. So we are briefly going to take a look at the specs on the cameras on this iPhone 13 Pro. iPhone 13 Pro gets 3 cameras, a LiDAR sensor, dual LED flash and a microphone in this huge camera module on its back. The camera module is much larger this time to accommodate bigger sensors and huge lenses on all 3 cameras. These lenses now stick out even more than before, which I am not really a big fan of, but as long as we get good cameras, I am ready to put up with it. Primary camera again gets a 12 megapixel sensor, but the overall size of the sensor has been increased to 0.6 inches, which is even bigger than the already massive sensor on last year's iPhone 12 Pro Max. Each individual pixel on this sensor now has a size of 1.9 micron, which means it gathers 25% more light than the iPhone 12 Pro Max's main sensor. And at f1.5, aperture is also much wider now. This camera gets 26mm lens and sensor chip stabilization. Next camera also comes with a 12 megapixel sensor, f1.8 aperture and a 13mm ultra wide angle lens. f1.8 aperture lets in 78% more light on the sensor compared to the f2.4 aperture on the iPhone 12 Pro Max's ultra wide angle camera. This year, 13 Pro's ultra wide angle camera also gets autofocusing capabilities, and it can focus on objects which are as close to 2 cm from it. This opens up the gate for macro photography on Pro iPhones this year. The telephoto camera has been upgraded as well. It gets a 12 megapixel sensor, f2.8 aperture, 77mm lens and optical image stabilization. Yes, the aperture on this year's telephoto lens is narrower than last year, but what it loses in aperture number is made up by the extra reach it gets. 77mm focal length now means it gets 3x optical zoom instead of 2.5x on the iPhone 12 Pro Max and 2x on the smaller 12 Pro. So between the ultra-wide, main and telephoto lens, we get a 6x optical zoom range on this iPhone 13 Pro. You can do 15x digital zoom while taking images and 9x digital zoom while shooting videos. At the front, we get the same 12 megapixel true depth camera with f2.2 aperture and 23mm lens that we have been seeing on iPhones since the iPhone 11. All 4 cameras get Smart HDR4, Deep Fusion, Night Mode and Pro RAW format support. With all the new features and shooting options, the camera app gets a few more options which are hidden at first, but it is not too hard to get to them. First of all, like it has always been, you can swipe to the left or right to switch between different modes. Cinematic mode is now one of the new modes which has been added to this featured list. And just like before, above the shutter button, you have the option to switch between lenses. At the top on the right side, you will get the option to turn on Apple Pro RAW format. Then you can tap on this small arrow at the top, or by just swiping up anywhere on the viewfinder, a new set of features show up above the shutter button. This option right here is the one that you tap on to get to the new photographic styles. All of the other settings are pretty much same as on the previous iPhones, so we will not be going through all of them. With all the specifications and new features in the camera interface out of the way, let us check out the image and video samples from this iPhone 13 Pro, and as always, we will start with the images which are taken in bright daytime. All of these images have incredible amount of details in them. Everything looks crisp and sharp even as I zoom in on these shots. These images look natural and not too processed or too sharp like from some of the other smartphones. There are a few ways to improve cameras on any phone. One of that is adding a higher megapixel count sensor. First and foremost, this move is better for marketing purpose because most people often associate higher megapixel number to the cameras being better. This is not the best way, because having high megapixel count isn't good enough if the sensor is smaller. It results in each individual pixel being much smaller and gathering less information. And in the end, these high resolution sensors just end up using pixel binning to deliver a lower resolution image in order to reduce the size of the final shot. But this is still what most of the smartphone manufacturers are doing. The other and harder way is to use a good quality larger sensor with lower megapixel count. This is what Apple has done. The sensor behind this main camera is huge, but it is just divided into 12 megapixels instead of say 48 or 64 megapixels. And that allows each individual pixel to be much larger and has captured more light and information in every shot. This method, combined with really good image processing pipeline, results in good images, but it is not as marketable as high megapixel count, so most of the manufacturers don't want to take this road. Now the images from this iPhone 13 Pro look really good, but I do wish they had slightly more details in them so that we could zoom way in. All that being said, there is no denying that these images look really good even in overcast lighting conditions. Thanks to the wider aperture and sensor shift stabilization, the sensor behind the main camera was able to capture more light, making the images look good and keeping the noise levels to a minimum. Colors from this year's iPhones look really good. This is across the entire iPhone 13 lineup. Since the iPhone XS days, Apple went with a bit extra saturation in all of the images, but I think this time they have pulled it back a little. Don't get me wrong, there is still a good amount of saturation in these images. It is just at this time, colors look closer to how the scene looks in real life. There is no weird shift in color temperature or white balance in any of these images, which is always nice to have. If you want to add a bit of extra saturation, warmth, contrast or vibrance to your shots, you can do that by choosing one of the 4 new photographic styles. These styles are baked into the shot, so unlike the filters that you put on top of your images, once you have clicked the image with these photographic styles applied, there is no way to undo that. You can even customize these styles further and pick the one which you feel suits your photography style the best. Before we go ahead, here is a quick word from today's sponsor, Capes India. Capes India offers amazing skins for your new phone. I'm not using any case with my iPhone 13 Pro yet. That leaves the bag to gather a lot of fingerprints and smudges, and there is also a chance that this bag will gather scratches over time. Applying a Capes India skin to the bag takes care of all the problems and it doesn't add any bulk to the phone. These skins are available in variety of color and textures, and you can get them for a wide range of devices like your smartphone, laptops, tablets, gaming consoles, cameras and much more. To know more about these skins and the devices they are available for, head over to Capes India's website from the link in the description section. You can also use the code TecworkZ at checkout to get a 10% discount on your order. Coming to high dynamic range situations, the Smart HDR4 algorithm is delivering very good results. Now this is strange, because if you saw my iPhone 13's camera review, I was highly doubting that if the Smart HDR4 was even on, but it seems to be doing a very good job on this 13 Pro. I still wish we had the toggle to turn it on or off manually though. That would give us more control over how we want these images to look. Nevertheless, I feel HDR mode is doing a very good job here. We can see a lot of details in the shadows, while the highlights other than the sun in this shot are not blown out. It is not too aggressive as we see on some of the Android flagships. It does the job and doesn't make the resulting images look too processed. This gives me hope that the HDR issue that I had on the iPhone 13 is a bug and it should be fixed with an update, because as we saw with these images, Smart HDR4 can actually make the images look very good. The main camera is fast at switching and setting the focus on any object. This is important while taking close-up shots. These close-up shots from the iPhone 13 Pro look excellent. The subject is in perfect sharp focus and the background and the foreground, if any, gets a very creamy bokeh. Now these are not portrait shots, so all the blur that you see in these images is completely optical, and it is there because the sensor on this main camera is huge and it has a very wide f1.5 aperture. Now I mentioned before that ultra-wide angle lens gets macro capabilities, and to make taking macro shots very easy, if you get any closer than 14 cm of an object, the phone automatically switches to the wide lens for macro mode. Now this is really good because most of the users won't have to hit a toggle to switch to the macro mode, but this also gets very annoying for people like me who love to take close-up shots with the main camera. As you can see in this screen recording, the close-up shots from the main camera look much better and have a nice blur to the background. But as soon as the phone automatically switches to the macro mode, all of those details and richness of the image goes away. Apple says they are working on a fix and will let users choose when they want to switch to the macro mode. I can't wait for that update to arrive, because I take a lot of close-up shots and I don't want to be moving my camera back and forth because it keeps on switching between the main and wide lens automatically. When you do manage to take these close-up shots, as you can see, they look excellent. This optical blur looks so good that more often I have started taking close-up shots of objects instead of using the portrait mode. When you actually want to take macro shots, they turn out to be amazing as well. You can get as close as 2 cm to the subject and just look at how incredible these shots turned out. These are coming out of a 12 megapixel sensor, so they have a lot of details in them. Now the characteristics of the wide lens is such that details are less and less as you move towards the edges of the frame, but the center of the frame or the subject in focus is incredibly detailed. This time, ultra-wide angle lens gets f1.8 aperture, which lets in more light onto the sensor even if you are getting too close to the subject. But to get the best macro shots, you should be taking these images in bright lighting conditions. I didn't know I like taking macro shots until I tried this mode on one of the Android phones last year. And since then, I have been hoping that this mode comes to iPhones, and I'm finally happy that it is here. I had a lot of fun taking these macro shots, and if you get your hands on the iPhone 13 Pro or the 13 Pro Max, try this mode out and I promise you will just keep on trying to find places where you can use it. It is that good. Other than the macro shots, with this ultra wide angle camera, you can also take, well, ultra wide shots. This is an image from the main camera, and look at how much more of the scene you can capture with the ultra wide angle lens. It comes in handy in situations when you want to capture more of the scene but you don't have enough space to move back. In case you want to get closer to the action, now you also get a 3x optical zoom lens, and here is how those images look. It is so nice to have the option of capturing these different perspectives of the scene by standing at the same spot. This is not the crazy 10x, 30x or 100x zoom that we see on some of the other phones which you might never use. 3x zoom is actually very practical and usable zoom range. Would I like to have 10x or 30x zoom option? Hell yes, but only if it's optical and lossless, and if it's a separate camera and doesn't replace this 3x one. The aperture on this wide lens now lets in much more light, and the lens optics are also improved, so these shots are very detailed. And thanks to the lens correction option, you won't see the lines or faces which are towards the edges of the frame being bulged or distorted. As much as I like the reach of the telephoto lens, I don't appreciate the fact that its aperture is much narrower and it cuts the amount of light entering the sensor by half compared to last year's iPhone 12 Pro. So even if the focal length is increased from 52mm on the iPhone 12 Pro and 65mm on the 12 Pro Max to 77mm this time, I still consider this telephoto lens to be a downgrade compared to last year. I prefer crispier and cleaner images with less noise over tighter zoom. What do you guys prefer? Let me know in the comments. Portrait mode has always been really good on iPhones, and the iPhone 13 Pro makes it even better. No matter the lighting conditions you are in, the edge detection is near perfect. This is all thanks to the LiDAR sensor. Apple says LiDAR is mostly used in low light conditions, but I found the edge detection on the iPhone 13 Pro to be better than the one on the iPhone 13 even in bright daylight. Just look at these portraits. Colors, skin tones, details, edge detection, dynamic range, everything looks so good. I honestly feel, unless you have the aperture value cranked up to f2.0 or unless something goes horribly wrong, there is no chance that you will see a bad portrait shot from this iPhone. For indoor and low lighting conditions, you also get the night mode for portrait shots, so there are a ton of details and very little noise even in these conditions. These shots don't even take that long to capture like on some of the other phones. I just had to point the phone at someone and the portrait mode was ready with the real-time background blur being shown in the viewfinder. You can also take zoomed in portraits, and the 77mm telephoto lens on this phone is now so much closer to the 85mm, which is the preferred focal length for taking portrait shots with a DSLR camera. These zoomed in portrait shots also have incredible amount of details and they look very natural. Since it is 3x zoom now, you will just have to be aware that you have to be too far away from your subject for taking these portraits. Zoomed in portraits in lower light might look a bit grainy because this lens does not have the best sensor or the lens optics to take very good images in lower light. But the low light portrait shots from the wide camera look absolutely amazing. For taking portraits of objects, the story is same. Thanks to the LiDAR sensor, edge detection is very fast and near perfect. In some instances, if you feel like the edge detection is a bit off, or if the background blur needs to be a bit more or less, just click on the edit button and play around with the F number unless you are satisfied with the background blur. As I said before, if I am going to be too close to the subject, now I prefer taking close-up shots instead of portrait ones. But when I do need to take portrait shots, the results are just as amazing as while taking portraits of people. Moving on to indoor, artificial and lower lighting conditions. Now this is where the bigger sensor and wider aperture on the main camera of the iPhone 13 Pro should help it capture more light making its images look more detailed. When there is a lot of ambient light around, like in these shots, deep fusion mode is triggered instead of the night mode. Deep fusion mode takes a few long and short exposure frames, combines them and forms a much detailed image. This has been available since the iPhone 11 series phones, but it works slightly better on this year's iPhones. And this time, it is available on the wide and telephoto lens as well. Coming back to the low light shots in artificial light, look at how much details there are in these images. 12 series iPhones were also good at taking these shots, but thanks to the new processor, bigger sensor, wider aperture, sensor shift stabilization and better computational photography algorithms, we now get even better looking images in these lighting conditions. I saw this on the iPhone 13 as well, that this year's iPhones are not too keen on switching to the night mode. They try and capture most of the artificially lit images in normal or deep fusion mode, and the results are still very impressive. When the 13 Pro eventually takes images with the night mode, they are even more detailed and have a lot of light in them. I did notice that the auto exposure time for the night mode images barely goes behind 1 second on this iPhone 13 Pro. It is good because you don't have to hold the phone steady for a long time, but I also feel this might make the phone miss out on some of the details. So whenever the night mode showed up, I made the phone capture light for maximum time available and just look at these images. I'm sure we have not seen these many details in the images from any of the iPhones before this. You should know that we still get the annoying lens flare in the shots where you have the light source directly in front of you. But thankfully, I am seeing this in less and less images. I would really love if Apple could find a way to completely eliminate it somehow. That being said, I am really impressed with the low light shots from this iPhone 13 Pro. Even the wide lens can now take good shots in lower light. It also gets the night mode, and again, when you crank the exposure up to maximum, the resulting shots look almost as good as the shots without the night mode from the main camera, and this is a big compliment for the wide lens. Just look at the amount of light being added and the details that are brought back with the night mode on this wide lens. I will have to compare this with the cameras on other phones, but right now, I feel these might be the best looking night mode wide shots. Now the telephoto lens also gets night mode, but more often than not in situations like these, instead of using a telephoto lens, iPhone 13 Pro tries to capture the image with the main camera and then digitally zoom in on that shot. If you want to force the 13 Pro to use the telephoto lens in these conditions, make sure to turn on the night mode and switch it to maximum time when you switch to this lens. That forces this phone to use the telephoto lens, and it results in much brighter and cleaner images with more details and less noise. Just like they are going to do with the macro mode, I wish Apple gave us a toggle which makes sure that the telephoto lens is being used in any conditions that we want, instead of the images being captured with the main camera and zoomed in digitally. That brings us to the front-facing camera. This is the same 12 megapixel selfie camera that we have been seeing since the iPhone 11. This phone does take slightly better selfies with more details and better colors and dynamic range. This is thanks to the new image processing pipeline on the A15 Bionic processor. iPhone has had a wide lens on the front-facing camera since 2 years now, and most people don't even know it. Well, that is because the phone will default to the zoomed-in mode when you switch to the selfie camera. To take wider selfies or to make use of the complete sensor, make sure to tap on the 2 arrows above the shutter button when you want to take selfies. This will give you a much wider field of view. Portrait selfies are now even better than before. Faces are in perfect sharp focus, edge detection is better than any of the previous iPhones, and since faces are in focus and everything else around them is blurred out, these portrait selfies look sharper than the ones from the normal selfie camera. I think the edge detection around my glasses and ears have got a lot better compared to the previous iPhones, and I really appreciate this a lot. Here's a video from the front-facing camera of the iPhone 13 Pro. You can see how it is handling the overall colors of the scene, exposure, and stabilization when I'm walking around with it. This front-facing camera can shoot 4K videos at up to 60 FPS, but right now I'm recording it in 30 FPS. I just love the videos that come out of iPhones. You can shoot 10-bit Dolby Vision HDR videos at 4K 60 FPS now. Here's a short montage of videos which I took with this iPhone 13 Pro. Cinematic mode is a very cool feature to have. It is an advanced version of the portrait mode video that we have seen on some of the other phones. This mode can detect people in the shot and focus on them automatically, or it can even change the focus depending on where it thinks the person is looking at and get that area of the scene in focus. It is really cool. There is a lot more that goes behind in the background while taking these cinematic mode videos, and I think this is the best portrait mode video that I've seen come out of any of the smartphones yet. It works well sometimes, but I would still consider it to be a beta feature and give it a few more generations to evolve. Right now, it only shoots 1080p videos in 30 fps. Hopefully, Apple will be able to bump up the resolution to 4K next time. You can take cinematic mode videos with the front-facing camera as well. Just make sure to have the f-stop set to a higher number. Right now, I am using f9.2 and I think the blur to the background is looking natural. Edge detection is also good. The only downside of this mode is that this video is being shot at 1080p and 30 fps. These are without a doubt the best cameras on any of the iPhones yet. Cameras on this iPhone 13 Pro are a definite upgrade over the previous iPhones. So if you are serious about smartphone photography and if you want the absolute best cameras on any of the smartphones, then you should go with the iPhone 13 Pro. But if you already have the iPhone 12 Pro or the 12 Pro Max and are wondering if you should upgrade, then I would suggest you to keep on using your phone for another year at least and see what Apple has to offer next year in terms of cameras. If you are using an iPhone XS or any of the iPhones from before that, and if you are looking for an upgrade, then the new iPhone 13 Pro will give you a much needed bump in the camera, battery, and overall performance in general. So after looking at over 135 image and video samples from the cameras of the iPhone 13 Pro, what do you guys feel about its cameras? Let me know in the comments. If you are planning to get this phone, I will really appreciate if you get it from the affiliate link in the description section. That is it for this video guys. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this video and subscribe to the channel for more quality tech videos like this. You can also check out some of the other videos from this channel. This has been Sagar and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care.